Now let's see how useful these functions for embedding are, not only if working within one project to have one-to-end relationships, but also to combine certain projects. For this reason, I want to show to you that we want in the article, which currently only has a name and description, to also have some multi-language management. So you somehow have to have a table in which per language you define the text of the article and the description of the article. We could now go on and say, okay, let's do it in the same way or similar way as we did the order items for the order, and having, instead of the order item number, having the language as separator between the items. But already there's something already configured, also pre-thought. If you look into imported metadata, then we see that this model that you use here already uses the metadata of project CCDA base, Captain Casa data application base, which always comes with normal configuration. You can opt to not take it, but we recommend to use it. Let's take a look inside of this one. And this one already contains a thing which called embedded text info. Embedded text info is an entity, and you see the entity if you look into the table or the entity definition. It has an ID, which is a UUID. It has a language ID. So this is a language referring to the languages. So there's also a language over here. And in the embedded text info, there's a text and description. So per language, you have a text and description. And this seems obvious. So we now have a table which just has a UUID, yeah? And we want to use this. So if we now go to the article, yeah, and see how it embedded, then I just want to briefly explain how the binding then is. It's a bit different than with the order item. So now we have the article table, article entity, and the article entity has certain fields, and we have the list of text infos. And the list of text infos has, for example, language key German or English, and it has a certain UUID. Let's be very frank and see the UUID is 3. Of course, it's much, much longer. So for a certain aspect 3, it now keeps the German language description, text description, and so on. So that's the key of the data. And what we now need to have is we need to extend the article by a new field, which is the UUID pointing here. So the article now creates a UUID on its own, and this UUID then references into this table so that, so to speak, the article information is kept in this table. Whereas, for example, the next article that you create has article UUID 4. This is the key to this table and references completely different data. So this embedded text info entity serves as a text container to be used by multiple objects. If it's an article, if it's a unit of measure, whatever, everywhere where you want to plug information, multi-language information to, you can use this embedded text info. Now let's do this. So in the article where we are now, we now create a new item, and this is the text info ID. The text is text info ID, and the data type is, you saw it in the other object, it's a UUID. So where's the UUID? Sorted quite at the end. Here it is, UUID. The reference is not required. It's not part of key. It's not mandatory, but there's a special thing here. It should not be null. It must be a value, and in case of UUID, if it's not null, it's assigned a random UUID. So with each article, when an article is created, automatically a new random value is a secure random value is generated here. Random in means of it's unique. UUID is unique worldwide or in the whole space. So it automatically, the article, when being created, it receives this UUID. Okay, now let's embed the other object. So currently we have a new field, text info ID, that this is exactly this new field on the article level. Go to embedded entities. Now we say, okay, the article embeds text infos, start a name or an ID. It embeds now text info of this object. You see, this is of this project. This is the text info that we just had a look inside. And we now have to do the mapping. On the left, we see the mapping of text info. This is the one which we import. That's the embedded object. And this is ID language description text. This is the table, so to speak, of the other entity. And we say we reference this UUID, and we reference it through our text info ID. So our UUID, which is created with the article, is showing to this one, and that's it. We save this, and oh, I forgot something. Mandatory value is not defined. Embedded entity effective type. What did I do wrong? Type of embedding. Very good. It's a list embedding. It's a one-to-n relationship into this table. So saving now, and it's properly saved. So just to look again. So the text info ID is the UUID from the article. It is automatically assigned. It's created. It's randomly created here. And this one then points into the other table, into this embedded entity text infos, so that the information is linked. Good. Basically, it's nearly the same as with the order item. It's not just with order and order item. In case of order and order item, it was a sharing of the key object. Now it's one foreign key, so to speak, object sharing the key object of another table. Good. Now let's look into the article, and we immediately go to the detail editor of the article, because the detail of the article of the editor up to now contained ID name base unit. Oh, sorry, I forgot one thing. I forgot, sorry here, to generate things and to deploy things. Because once you're working on the right, you have to save, generate, and deploy to make changes applied to the system. And this point of time, deploy. And now, if opening the article, I should see that there is some text infos below, which I did not see before because I did forget both steps. Anyway, we go to the article detail. We see it here. And we now grab the text infos as row. I put it now in front of, below the text area. And you now see the same thing as with the order item. Yes, this is the list of the translations per language, which are now automatically embedded into the article. Well, let's now look into real scenario. Yeah, so we now edit this. If you create anlegen, if you create a new item, you don't see anyone because it's pointing into a language table, which is not defined yet. So what I will now do is I will add this to the function tree. So in the master data, I will add the length, not only where we have articles and unit of measures, I also want to create a new workplace tree item, which are the languages. And the languages are screen, and the screen is coming from the languages screen here. So we have here the starting of multiple instances. No, we don't want to do this. We only have one instance. The idea is this one. So we now extended the workplace to also contain the languages. And we now start the workplace. Things come together now. We define languages. Double click. We create a new one, which is DE. Let's call it German. Save it. New language, EN for English. And we save France. We create France for French for France. Good. Now we go to articles. And we now go to eau de cologne. And we now say, okay, look, in the language DE, it is Körnischwasser. And whatever description. And in the language France, you see it's taken over, it's eau de cologne. And I'm not sure what it is in English, if there's a translation, but let's just do it. It's water of Cologne. If there's a good translation of it, I'm not really sure. And all this is now stored with the articles. The nice thing is that not only the data relationship is takeover, but assuming, for example, you put here English and you save it, then all the data checks which are part of this entity relationship are already in place. So it's not only embedding the data, it's embedding the data, it's embedding the controller, the functions, the consistency logic, it is embedding the screen. Everything is embedded in one chunk, so to speak. And that's a very efficient way of assembling information out of existing entities. You see, if you have an article which is multi-language, if you have a unit of measure which is multi-language, you just have to attach this multi-language package into the entity, and all the things from the logic to the screen is integrated in one step. It's quite enormous efficiency. Let's just save this, and that's it. By the way, if showing this item here, there are some green items and there are some white items. The white items is always the fullest, which is currently exactly the ones. And the green ones are the ones, I think it always is up to 5 maximum, the ones you touched last. So if you just edited English, then you also will see English as green one to be quickly able to remember, oh, this is just what I did edit, because it's quite typical. You edit something and you directly want to reuse it, and you don't want to search it if there are hundreds of items here. Good. That's it for this video. Thanks.